Namaste and welcome back to today's episode of Mahabharata Matters. In the previous few episodes, we had seen that the Pandavas came in search of the Arani that the Brahmana had lost. In the process, they had come across a lake and they had all died, and after answering Yaksha's prashnas, the questions by the Yaksha, all the brothers were revived. The Yaksha was none other than Yamadharmaraya. Yama returned the Arani back to Yudhishthira so that he can give it back to the Brahmana. The purpose of taking the Arani was to lure them to the lake. That purpose was served. Vanaparva ended with this episode. After this, the next Parva is Virāṭa Parva. Let's see why it is named so. Time had come for them to go away in incognito. Although unwillingly, Yudhishthira had to take leave of all the Brahmanas who had accompanied them since Hastinapura onwards. With the blessings of Sun God, they had procured the Akshaya Patra. With the help of the Akshaya Patra, Yudhishthira had fed them and taken care of all of them very well throughout the 12 years. Yudhishthira and his brothers bid a very tearful adieu to all of them. They had to go on their own now. With Kulaguru Dhaumya, the Pandavas and Draupadi went away into a secluded part of the forest. They were discussing ideas and planning where to go next. At the time, Yudhishthira asked Arjuna for suggestions. Arjuna had travelled far and wide across the country. He mentioned names of Panchala Desha, Videha, Dwaraka, Magadha, as well as Matsya Desha. Arjuna said the Virāṭa Nagari in Matsya Desha was a beautiful city. It was ruled by an old king by name Virāṭa. He said the old king Virāṭa was noble and a gentle soul. He also said the city was big enough to give them shelter and obscure enough to hide them as well. It was essential for them to hide away from Duryodhana's evil eyes. Yudhishthira liked the idea of Matsya Desha's Virāṭa Nagari. He said Dwaraka and Panchala should be ruled out because Dwaraka was Krishna's kingdom and Panchala was Draupadi's father Drupada's kingdom. Those were the places Duryodhana would look for them first. So they should not be going there, he said. Dhaumya also agreed with Yudhishthira that they should go to King Virāṭa's Virāṭa Nagari. Hence the name to this Parva, Virāṭa Parva, the year of incognito. The next question was, what would they disguise themselves as? Staying together was the biggest giveaway. So they could not be together, but they still wanted to be in the same city. So they decided each would take up a different role. Yudhishthira said he would disguise himself as Kanka, a Vedic philosopher and an advisor. He said he would become a companion to King Virāṭa. He would introduce himself as a Vedic scholar and philosopher and also a friend of Yudhishthira. Since Yudhishthira was in exile, now he had been looking for a place to stay. He would also say that he was an expert at playing the game of dice. He could keep company for the king. At this point, his brothers were in tears. He was a king of the land. He had never taken orders from anyone, even in this 12 years of Vanavasa. But now, in disguise, he was going to be serving under someone else. The very thought brought tears to his brothers and Draupadi. But Yudhishthira consoled them all. He said, do not worry. Noble kings would never offend or order scholars or philosophers. He would treat Yudhishthira with reverence. With this, the brothers and Draupadi were assured. Bhima decided to be a cook. He loved food anyways. Along with that, cooking was his favorite hobby. He said he would bathe in the fragrances in the kitchen. He would introduce himself as a cook named Vallabha. He would be in charge of the kitchen. Alongside that, he said he would become in charge of the Vyayamashala, the gymnasium, and teach Malla Yuddha to youngsters there. Arjuna was known as Savyasachin. Savyasachin means an ambidextrous person who could wield arrow and bows with both his hands. Thanks to this expertise of Arjuna, both sides of his shoulders were scarred with the strings of the bow. He had to hide them. How was he going to do that? Everyone was worried about it. Arjuna consoled them. He reminded them of Urvashi's curse and how the tenure of it was reduced to 1 year by Indra. He said he was going to put that to use right now. He would go dressed up as a eunuch, and this would hide all his scars. He would teach dance and music to Princess Uttarakumari in the chambers of the queen. That would be the best place for him to hide, he said. Nakula had a way with the horses. It was almost like he was a horse whisperer. He could tame the wildest horses in no time. He decided to go as a horse trainer named Damagranthi or Granthika to Virāṭa's kingdom. He would stay in the stables along with the horses. Sahadeva said he really enjoyed being with the cows. He knew how to take good care of them. The cows even yielded more milk under his care. Virāṭa's kingdom was famous for its cattle shed too. So he said he would disguise himself as Tantripala, the cowherder. He would approach Virāṭa for taking care of the cows in their cowshed. All was settled for the Pandavas. Now everyone looked at Draupadi. It was Panchali's time to decide her disguise. Everyone felt very sad for this princess and queen who will now be under the mercy of someone else. They couldn't be with her to protect her all the time. They were very sad about this, but Draupadi consoled them all. She said she will take care of herself. She will disguise as Sairandri, the hairdresser and the makeup artist for the queen. King Virāṭa's wife was Sudeshna. She was the Kekaya princess and a very gentle soul, they had heard. So she will introduce herself as a consort to Draupadi once upon a time. Since Draupadi was in exile, Sairandri had come looking for a place to say she would say to the queen. She would also tell the queen that she was married to 5 Gandharvas who are away from her due to a curse. Since there was so much common between her and Draupadi, Draupadi had considered her as a dear friend, she would say. So the plan for the disguises were set for the Ajnatavasam. They went from Dvaitavana through Kamakya to river Yamuna. Here they parted ways with Kulaguru Dhaumya. Yudhishthira asked Dhaumya to go and stay in Panchala Desha. He was to tell Drupada that the Pandavas and Draupadi had gone into Ajnatavasa and nothing else. No details should be revealed to Drupada even, he said. Everyone set on their new journeys from here on. So what are our takeaways from this story? We see that even a curse can be a blessing, like in Arjuna's case, where the curse of being a eunuch proved helpful to them in the year of incognito. Another thing to notice here is rise to the occasion. None of them were used to be in a disguise or work under someone, but they cheerfully rose to the occasion and took to their disguises gracefully. Even in disguise, keeping their poise was important, so they chose to tap into their own strengths to choose the role they were playing in disguise. They would not compromise on how others treated them either. With these thoughts, we come to the end of today's episode. Remember, in this series, we are discussing matters of Mahabharata because even today, Mahabharata matters. Hari Om.